All right, here we go. Welcome, everybody. E2G Sports presents to you the biggest oxymoron of the day, which is the legal tampering period in the NFL. And it has been a day, and we've only just begun. Buddy Andre, Johnny Sunchips here for you. Obviously, we're coming live to you at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the 14th of March in the year 2022. We have the Unsung Sports Grid. Comments, please send them. Answer questions, anything you have to tell us, anything you want to know, football pertaining, we'll get them to you, and your comment will be read on the air, and we will do our best to give you our insight. But let's bring in the founder of the E2G Sports brand, and that is Buddy Andre. Buddy, I know you're going crazy today because it's almost Happy New Year to you, right? So you're gearing up, got the pom-poms out, got the whistleblowers, going to pop the champagne corks. It's almost Happy New Year, buddy. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Trying to keep up with everything. And,
I hear you. Early thoughts. What just broke in the last hour or so pertaining to the Patriots. It's official now that J.C. Jackson is not coming back to New England.
Yeah, J.C. Jackson will be on the West Coast playing with that revamped Chargers defense that still has a number one pick at 17 overall, which is just so hard to fathom with all the moves they've made.
Right. Your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, in my opinion, is he's not an elite corner, but I mean, if one thing's for sure, the Patriots are not as good a team as they were without him. That's for sure. How do they go about doing this? Is it draft related? Are they going after anything? Because they were pretty active at this point last year. Not the case in 2022.
Yeah, we'll see. It's still early. I mean, we're not even 6 hours in, and I always look to the names that we haven't heard about. When it comes to the Patriots, like he had no smoke on guys.
Mm-hmm.
And those are usually the guys I'm looking at is, why haven't we heard anything on them? You know, when they're decent players. And I think of Hunter Henry last year, just popping up day two.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that. There's, they may be shopping at the Dollar Tree, but they'll be shopping.
Right. Yeah. And well, Hoyer's back, McCourty's back, and Ferentz is back, I believe. It's as far as we know, the only moves thus far. But your thoughts on that? Is it a case where Bill Belichick is just comfortable with some of these guys? Now, I look at Hoyer for one. McCourty, you can say, is a comfortability there, quality guy, anchor. I mean, character builder on the team. They need leaders. He's one of them on the defense, if not the biggest defensive leader, and what they may need. If they lose other guys this year. But as far as Hoyer, I mean, is he still tutoring? Are we still tutoring Mac Jones? Or can we kind of give him the keys to the car and let him run it with a good coordinator? Or with the absence of McDaniels, is Hoyer more important this year in the maturation of Mac Jones?
Yeah, because Hoyer is the guy I trust on most in the building now with the offense. Out of the coaches, out of players, out of everything. He's the guy I trust the most. Maybe not on the field, making sure you don't run the clock out, but that's another story for another day. But yeah, no, he's pretty important right now, and it's just we will see how it goes. Yeah, Hoyer is basically a coach in a uniform. Johnny from Canada is right. That is exactly the right way of putting it.
Right.
He's basically that coach we saw against Bryant the other day. He's got a uniform on.
Exactly. Well, here's one of the many coaches they have now. They just don't. He's not going to get a label because they have to pay him. I agree with that, Johnny, as well. But he winners and loses thus far. Obviously, the talk is Jacksonville and Cincinnati spending money. Lots of money to spend. Jaguars trying to revamp. Bengals trying to keep it going. Ted Karras is there now. The building. We talked about the Bengals and their offensive line rows, but winners and losers thus far, being only 6 hours in. Suffice it to say that those two are the top of the list right now.
Yeah, I like what the Jaguars. I thought that between the Jaguars, the Bengals, and the Chargers, they had to go after offensive line help. Two of the teams have done that so far early in free agency, making some moves. Scherf, one of my favorite players in the league, going from Washington to Jacksonville. Just good protection there at the right guard spot.
Right.
For your franchise. Just to know he's safe and a guy who can provide in the run game, get out there and screen. If he's healthy, he's an unbelievable player. So good way of doing it. Him and Cam Robinson, and then Kappa and Teddy Karras, offensive guards,
Yep.
starting in Cincinnati. So now you go out there, you grab another tackle, and they're not done. And there are still rumors that they may be in on Teron Armstead. If they grab Armstead, all they're really going to need is a center in the draft, and they're going to be able to go. And
Right.
they're the team that
Right.
tasted it last year out of all these teams.
So let's start in the AFC East. We'll start with Buffalo. McKenzie's back in the fold. Jake Comarau, Saffold, Mitch Morse, obviously. Buffalo kind of doing the right things as well, in your opinion?
Yeah, and there's still some defensive things to go. I think Shaq Lawson will be back, too, along the defensive line. And then they just got to go from there. They got to find that really viable corner opposite of Tre'Davious White. If they can do that, maybe they can last that 13 seconds.
Okay, Miami. Teddy Bridgewater.
I thought Chase Edmonds was a really good pickup.
Yep.
This kid they brought in is a run game coordinator, and I think I said this to MJ last night. We're going to see that one-cut style that they had in San Francisco. Edmonds fits that style. I think they'll find a bigger guy who can do that, and you can kind of salvage the group of guys you had, like Myles Gaskin and the whole crew that was there. I thought Fournette would be a good fit there, but I don't know if he's just going to go back to Tampa.
Yeah.
But they could use a really good big back to pair up with Chase Edmonds and find another guy.
Obviously, the quarterback situation is intriguing. Daniel has, said the right things about Tua being the guy. They bring in Bridgewater. Bridgewater could be Band-Aid. He's brought in as the quote-unquote backup. But
be healthy.
Huh? Yeah, if he's healthy, right. But he could
be the healthy guy. You bring in Teddy Bridgewater. That tells you how brittle the other guy is.
Right. So suffice it to say they're not satisfied at that quarterback position yet. But it's make or break for Tua, isn't it, this year, basically?
Yeah, because the owner sided with Greer and that side with Tua. And the argument between, the coach and GM, what they wanted behind center. So we'll see what happens there, but we'll see. Bring in a few pieces. They signed Cedric Wilson also.
Yeah.
The wide receiver from Dallas. I thought that was a pretty decent move. I don't think Preston Williams will be back. They have Jalen Waddle on the roster. Jabari Parker seems like, I don't know if he's got like a lifetime contract. He's always there. So
yeah.
And Mike Gesicki just signed his franchise tag, so he'll be back.
Yep. So they're still in the thick of it. I think they're, depending on the coach, depending on the quarterback, that's a Miami team that we've seen have 3 decent years. Obviously, Flores is there for those years, but they made a big turnaround last year. Can they keep this up? Talent-wise, they can. McDaniel, the coach, is getting a lot of pub as sort of an innovative guy, come from a decent system, and seems like a pretty decent dude. And Miami is one of those teams still on the come, in my opinion. Let's go to another team. And Braxton Berrios, he's signing 2 years, $12 million with the Jets. Are you as big on Berrios as some of the people are? Because he's being talked about as a guy that maybe the Patriots should have, I don't know if they reached out to him, investigated more, but to bring him back into the mix here in New England where he once was.
I'm not that big. I wasn't that big into him when he was here. So I'm not going to change my mind now. He hasn't really done anything to change my mind there. Even though I'm not a big fan of Missionary Myers, I'd rather find that real slot guy.
Mm-hmm. All right. One we talked about it prior to the show starting. A guy that I like. We talked about Pittsburgh. Mitch Trubisky is now brought in from the Bills. A guy who was the number 2 overall pick a couple of years ago, and he had the pressure of succeeding. Didn't really do it. You can argue the system, you can argue the coach, but didn't get it done. As a center backup under Brian Daboll and a well-coached team and a really good quarterback in Josh Allen in Buffalo, could have been a real good learning experience and just what he needed to regain some of that confidence. And now with the expectations not as big as they were when he came out of North Carolina, I can see this guy fitting in well to a system that is really designed, if they can run the ball with consistency with Harris, that he can succeed. as a Steelers quarterback under center.
Yeah, he's got some good pieces around him. Let's see if, can you imagine if we get to week 8 of the season and Josh Allen is doing his thing, rocking it. Trubisky's elevated his game big time, and we see something out of Daniel Jones too. Is he going to be the new quarterback whisperer rather than Adam Gase?
Mm-hmm.
Dayball, if all 3 of these guys are succeeding at the next level?
Well, I'll tell you, it just what he did with Josh Allen to make him to literally make him a better quarterback. That is, talk about credibility. And you remember when Allen came up, he had all the tools, didn't have the head, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. 4 or 5 years later? Is it 5 years now? He is.
Yeah, he's an elite. He's an elite guy.
Absolutely. So that's a, I mean, that's Brian Daboll for you. But that's a Buffalo Bill team that is, from top to bottom, really well coached, organization-wise. And they did get a new stadium deal, too, up there. So that's a good thing that they're staying in Buffalo.
Trying to picture what that new stadium is going to look like. Those people aren't going to like a new stadium.
I know.
We got to treat this place with respect. That sucks.
Well, I think, I'm sure the parking lots, or there'll be, you know what? I'm sure there'll be plenty of room for, tables, ladders, and chairs. I mean, that's not going away anytime soon.
You'd be surprised with the price of tickets. You might get some of the lower levels of society out of there going to the game.
That's true too. Yeah, but that division is still stacked. But let's go back to the AFC West now. When we talked earlier, Chargers are upgrading. Chiefs haven't done much yet. They've franchise tagged Orlando Brown. Raiders are doing the new coach is the big thing there. Can Josh McDaniels succeed? I think there's a lot of pressure on him to succeed. But you're looking at Denver now with Russell Wilson. I mean, you could conceivably see all 4 of these teams in the playoffs, and they may beat up on each other during the course of the year. But that's a division now. It's going to be, on paper anyway, is arguably the best in the league right now.
Yeah, those are going to be some very interesting games, and I like to see that some of these teams are going to the defensive side of the ball to try to make it tougher. And I think Denver started that last year with drafting Patrick Surtain at 8 and Chubb a couple of years ago up high, going after the defensive side of the ball. And now those guys are established veterans.
Are we seeing the re-evolution or I'm looking for words here because it's such a passers league, but you just struck on a good point. People are gearing up the defenses again to stop the run, to control the turnover ratio, to control the clock. We've seen a little reemergence of that coming back now with the strong running games now where the past 10 years running backs were not as marquee as before. We're seeing more and more teams establishing that run now and controlling the clock and defenses being stronger. And maybe the points, you're not going to see 8 to 10 teams average 30-plus points a game anymore. Are you seeing that sort of turnaround now in the NFL?
Well, the thing that I think that would help that turnaround is this class, the draft class.
Mm-hmm.
And the athleticism we saw at the combine and the production we saw over the course of the season. I think that's where the biggest difference is going to come. And it's these guys get experience and more professional and they make that year 1 to year 2 jump. I do think we're going to see that points per game go down in this league. I definitely do. Going away from the total fantasy football league to, well, he's a jam outside by a corner. And, this guy's got a lot of sacks. I think we're going to see that jump in the next 2 years. Go with 2024 for that for me.
Yeah, that's good. I like, you know what? I'm a big fan of defenses. I can get as much pleasure watching a 9-6 game, but that's hard hitting, than I can a 35-32 game. But obviously with fantasy football, the big thing, that's kind of goes by the wayside. But anyway, Buddy Andre, Johnny Sunchips for you on Legal Tampering Monday, if you will, in the National Football League. Your comments are basically welcome. So if you have anything to say, your teams, Patriots fans, Bills fans, whoever, north of the border, south of the border, international, just give us a holler, give us a jingle, tell us your comment, and we'll see if we can answer it for you. But it's interesting too, buddy. With here in New England, with the lack of what's your general feeling about this Patriots team? Because they kind of exceeded my expectations, 10-7 over the year, and we see teams and many times make a jump. I mean, granted, they were only 7-9 the year before with Cam quarterback, but that was a pretty significant jump, albeit just 3 wins with the style of play, with the defense that we saw, with the players, and especially the quarterback, Mac Jones. What's your opinion on them now? Can they keep this going, or do they? What do they need to do to prevent from having that setback that a lot of teams do? Because let's face it, Mac Jones has tape now. People watch tapes. Defenses are going to gear to him. So your quarterback is going to feel a little more pressure next year. And how does he adjust to that? More importantly, how does the organization handle that? And are they going to take a step back, in your opinion, or is that a wait and see attitude?
I got to wait and see how this all clears itself out, especially with the roster. Talk to me after undrafted free agents and just to see how the roster's looking at that point, if they got their type guys. But right now, in the words of Maxwell Jacob Friedman, this team is mid. That's what they are.
Oh, you love that guy. Anyway, a couple of comments here by John Gardner. Thoughts on all that money for Christian Kirk?
You may have to overpay sometimes when you're the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's just one of those things to pull him away from another spot. Overall, I think all their moves together are pretty good in forming a team. And yeah, you're looking at the numbers, and that's a little high for him. But what I'm looking at is this roster isn't like strong 1 to 10, and the rest of it is like fodder. What you're looking to do is go 1 to 23 this year with really quality players and then fill out the roster.
Right.
And that's how you eventually build a team that's strong 1 to 53. So I know the money seems a little silly at this time, and a linebacker a lot of people don't know getting good money, but what they're bringing in is good football players. And, it's like, before John Morant was with the Memphis Grizzlies, they'd always have to overpay for free agents. And now you see what the Memphis Grizzlies are becoming. That's my comp, is you bring in a superstar, and then, you may have to overpay a little bit for other players, but in the long run, you're bettering your team.
Yeah.
Hey, Stark, comment.
Animals running in the back. And what I like about Jacksonville too, buddy, is they got to protect their asset. And that's what they didn't do last year. And I always remember when, they drafted Trevor Lawrence, and they had 2 number 1 draft picks. At the end of that draft, I think they drafted Travis Etienne at the running back position, which I shook my head at right from the start.
Yeah, 25th overall.
The guy, and we saw last year. But now with Cam Robinson get the franchise tag, Brandon Scherf and Tyler Shatley re-signed. That's what they need to do, and I'm glad they're doing that and establishing what they need to do up front on both sides of the ball with Fudakashi as well.
Good work. Where can I order one of those?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they've had themselves an interesting day. I like what they've done today.
Yep.
I really do, because it's improved. It's a 1 to 53 team, and they were strong to this number. And as of today, they're stronger to a number further down. Mm-hmm. That's what you want to do. What direction do you think the Colts go at quarterback? You ready for this? Jimmy Garoppolo or Kyler Murray?
Wow. Johnny, if you want to send us back, if you had a choice between those two, Johnny Cunningham, who would you pick, Garoppolo or Kyler Murray? Because that's a tough one. You can make arguments on both sides for either. Buddy, your thoughts?
I just want everybody to keep an eye on the next few days to see if Kyler Murray reports to Oakland A's camp. Somebody I talked to, there's a possibility he's going to be showing up at camp.
Mm-hmm.
And it's another funny thing that was pointed out to me was Russell Wilson isn't the first Yankees prospect to be traded to the Denver Broncos. So there was that too with Elway in '83.
That's right. Interesting. But yeah, that's interesting. Boy, and I'm down on Murray. I mean, as far as football, I mean, we haven't seen a full season from him yet. And you can say what you want about the team around him, but what I saw from him last year was a guy who really heard footsteps after a while, and we talked about it on that podcast, that Ram game, where they just got into his head and he never got out of it, and he was
Nope.
running for dear life, much like Patrick Mahomes did. I don't know if it in the early part of last year when you may not trust your offensive line, so you basically get the ball and you're running around trying to make plays without having to step up into the pocket. And that's what I saw a lot from last year from Kyler Murray, because that's a decent Arizona team, and I'm wondering now, without Murray, Kirk's gone. Chase Edmonds is gone. The window closing on that team a little bit, do you think, in Arizona?
Well, yeah, don't forget Chandler Jones will be gone.
Yep.
Jordan Hicks was waived. There's been a lot of moves there.
Yeah.
They put a lot of money into the J.J. Watt barrel, and I never thought that was a good idea.
No, me neither.
Nope.
Me neither. Presence.
They had lighter versions of him on the roster. I'm not calling them J.J. Watt, but J.J. Watt, very light on the roster already.
Right.
Paid.
Right. Buddy Andrew, Johnny Centric's here for you on the tampering period, legal tampering period on the E2G Sports Network. We have the Unsung Sports Grid. Right now it's 5:51 p.m. Eastern Time on March 14th of the year 2022. A couple more comments.
Yeah,
Mr.
no, we
Gardner?
got a lot of them. We
Let's start.
love everybody. We take care of everybody. The Johnny Foundation here.
Yeah.
I'd be taking Murray personality, but the price would have to be way more than Jimmy G. Oh yeah, they definitely have to sell more. And don't forget the Colts are already losing at the quarterback position.
Right.
I don't know how this situation's going. I got a phone call. Matter of fact, I just had a message from somebody that I'll be able to get more on the Colts. But they went from a year of Phillip Rivers, where it was playoffs or bust. They lost in the first round of the playoffs. He's gone. They take all of Carson Wentz on, give up draft picks, and in the last game of the season at Jacksonville, completely shit their pants.
Yep.
I have never seen a team take a dump on the field like that Indianapolis Colts team did. Like 3 weeks after we saw them maul the Patriots and just look like world beaters, and after we see them beat the Bills too at another occasion. Where does Deshaun Watson ends up? Carolina, since they're clearing a bunch of cap space. I think it's going to be Carolina ultimately. I would say keep a late eye on Philadelphia still, because they can send back Jalen Hurts, 2 first-round picks this year, a 1 next year, and really turn it over. And they were a surprise playoff team last year. I'm not a big Jalen Hurts fan. Nothing personal. He just doesn't do it for me. I don't think he's.
Yeah.
I think he's a 4A quarterback. I think he's a backup. Donald Watson, too, never looks like he's having fun on the field. Yeah, same thing with Murray. He does always seem like he's miserable, like nothing's bringing him joy out there. He's just really good at a lot of things. Like, that's going to suck, being great at football and baseball. It's going to be, what a detriment to life.
Yeah, talk about a backup plan. My God, Johnny Cunningham goes on to say about to be the Colt McCoy show in Arizona if that plays out. Ha ha, Colt McCoy, man, aging like a fine wine, right?
Never dies. Him, Mike Lennon, Josh McNown. There should be like a journeyman quarterback Hall of Fame. I think Teddy Bridgewater is playing himself into that Hall of Fame too.
Yeah. Where would it be? It wouldn't be in Canton. It'd be in. Would it be like a wing or be like a suburb?
Oh no, we'd put it. No, there's Idaho. We can make something out of Idaho.
That's a good point. Road trip. Adam Schefter, 10 minutes ago, according to mine, former Giants tight end Evan Ingram intends to sign a 1-year, fully guaranteed $9 million deal that could go to $10 million with incentives with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wow. So they're really pushing it. So you got yourself a move tight end there. He blocks better than he looks, but he's the type of guy you can run fly sweeps as a tight end.
Yep.
In the pass game. Him and Kirk, that's an interesting group. The emergence of Laquan Treadwell out of like obscurity, literal obscurity, into what he performed at the end of the year. Chenault, They got some good pieces there.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where they go in the draft now and what they're going to run for a defense. That's a fun team. That's a nice little pickup.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and I was intrigued by him last year. I'm more intrigued by him this year. So I like Lawrence. I think he had a bad year. You need to get that culture changed a bit, get him back on track, get the franchise, protect him like what we're seeing we're doing, giving him assets, giving him weapons, protecting him up front. I mean, not that all the pieces are there. I think Miles Jack may be the only one. I'm not even sure who's in them, but they were they were 10 minutes away from Super Bowl as an organization just a few short years ago against New England. So you can use that as sort of a guideline, a margin to say, okay, here's where we were. We were here 4 or 5 years ago. 2016. We were here 2017?
2017.
So we were here 5 years ago. We can get back there. That's what you use, and you bring these guys in with the new coach. I think Peterson's the right guy for Lawrence as well. Talk about how it flamed out in Philly. But I like the Jaguars. I like the moves. And there's a soft spot in me for Jacksonville, too, because that city is put upon as being like a downtrodden Florida city. It's in northern Florida. It's closer to Georgia. It's not really Florida, blah, blah, blah. I like the Jaguars. I'm rooting for them. And I like Trevor Lawrence and the coach. So let's move on. Johnny Cunningham. I talked about Watson to Carolina. Christian McCaffrey part of a package for him, do you think?
It's funny if the old person with it. Remember they brought David Johnson over for
That's right.
For New Hopkins. We were like, you traded for a running back? Yeah, why not? I mean, if they're going to try to make some of the money work and get a big back in there. Carlos Hyde was released again. He's going to be in the Journeyman Running Back Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no kidding.
I'm not sure where we're going to put that. I'm thinking somewhere in Mississippi, though. I'm going to start drawing up plans after we get off the air.
Dude, Frank Gore's working out somewhere hoping to get a call.
Yeah, he gets in there even though he can be in both.
Right. And just the name Gore. Frank Gore. I mean, that's just a football name. That's quick. No question.
So, yeah, I could see him as part of the package. Him. I don't know how much Caserio is on Sam Darnold. But him, Darnold, and a few first-round picks. Yeah, that works.
And I like McCaffrey, but if you get a chance to ship him now, you do, because the value is as high as it's going to get. Because we talked about it, buddy. All you need to do is go on ProFootballReference.com and look at his workload. He has look on his Pro Football Reference page and add about 4 more years physically to his career, because with his workload, it's incredible what he's done in the short time. It's only a matter of time before that beats on a running back, and we're seeing it now. We're seeing the breakdown of Christian McCaffrey.
And we know who the next one is of that? You know who the next person is of that? Jonathan Taylor is following the same path.
Yeah, we talked about that, because if you look at his college workload, right?
Yeah, oh my God. And another guy is the guy in Miami, and why can't I think of his name? But he ran for 1,000 yards 4 straight years at Washington before he even went pro. Myles Gaskin, yes. Yeah. That's when you're pretty beaten down.
That's the end of the ground stuff too, by the way. Shameless plug. That's the end of the ground stuff. Looking at the college stuff before they hit the pros, because you're still beat on in college ranks. That's some serious football there too. John Gardner says Marcus Cannon just released.
Wow, what's he gonna do?
Russell?
Wow. We'll pay tribute to Marcus Cannon later on today.
Jeez,
moment of silence. Veteran minimum.
Let's stick with John Gardner here. That is, again, in the Johnny show here. Johnny and John, we appreciate your comments, man. Keeping us going, giving us something to talk about. Patriots' biggest need, Budster, linebacker, wide receiver, all of the above.
I think they need to double dip at both those positions, whether it's free agency or the draft. I don't really know a lot about Cameron McGrone, the kid who they drafted last year, who's a little banged up. But Anthony Jennings was out all year. He didn't really show much here. He wasn't the same player he was at Alabama his rookie year. I think Chase Winovich is a waste. I hope he's one of those guys that they do deal. He cut his hair, so he's not as cool anymore. So they can.
Oh, jeez, I know. God forbid.
leave him. Josh Uche needs a specified role. I love Judon when he's healthy. Yeah, it's a position I really want to look at. And Troy Anderson really ran well the other day, and he's a guy who played 4 positions in college and is a really good player. I like Darian Beavers from Cincinnati, Damone from LSU, and I'd like to get a group of guys in that area, like the second, third, fourth round. Grab 2 guys, and we know corners a need now too.
Right, right. Johnny from Johnny Cunningham, I believe, who earlier had asked about the Colts and who would their quarterback situation be like. Well, we can tell one person who's not going to be there. According to Adam Schefter about 5 minutes ago, Houston has declined Indianapolis's attempt to speak with Deshaun Watson. For source, Houston comfortable trading Watson, just not to the AFC South. That is what you would want to do if you're an organization. Don't trade
more than that.
You don't trade him in your own division. You don't. As far away from you as possible.
Yeah. So Carolina is one of those spots that's very good. Washington would have been. Tampa's got their quarterback now. Pittsburgh looks settled. Kind of sneaky still is the Giants.
What'd you say, bud?
The Giants are a little sneaky right now.
How so? Sneaky in what way?
Dayball loving to coach him and making a move. They have the 5th and 7th picks overall. Give him Daniel Jones 5 and 7. Call it a day.
No question. I think Jones may be that player, and I preach this a lot, who may need a change of scenery. Because we, as a Giant fan, you don't know what you have in this guy yet. You just don't. You can, whatever the system's like, organizationally wise, the team around him, you just don't know. But one thing you do know about him is he can make a mistake at the wrong time. No question about it.
And it won't even be a forced mistake.
Right.
He's just lackadaisical.
Yep. He loses focus.
What's going on here? Like, oh, we're playing a football game in front of 70.
Yep.
Oh, I dropped the football. Oh. Too bad. Somebody pick it up. He's just out there. Like, no care for the football whatsoever.
Nope. Agreed. So, we'll see what happens with the Giants. But that's a team now that you talk about losing years with Barkley on offense and Daniel Jones. I mean, Dayball is stepping into a good situation. I like the GM combo with him. I just think that's a team that Giants fans, give it a couple more years. But, I mean, just culture-wise, the 2 teams in New York are on the verge of changing their cultures, who have been 2 of the more embarrassing franchises in all of sports the past 5 or 6 years. Just look up the records. I mean, they just are way, way under 500 in a market like that where you need to, with tradition, especially with the Giants, with the organization, with the Maras, with all the, the Super Bowls, going way back to the old NFL day before the merger. That's a Giants team that has a lot of rich history, and they're struggling to get that back. But I think they got the pieces in place. They'll let it transpire a couple of years down the road.
Keep the conversation going, guys. I want to run to the restroom.
Yeah, I will converse as much as I can. So I'm on here. I'm going on the NFL.com. I'm looking at Indianapolis only has Mo Alley Cox re-signing on a 3-year, $18 million deal. Miles Killebrew, Mitch Trubisky in Pittsburgh. Amari Cooper in the trade with Cleveland. Cleveland Browns fans up there. David Njoku back at the tight end spot. Is Baker Mayfield the guy? The leash is definitely short on Baker Mayfield. And I'll give him this pass. You don't have to win with a quarterback who's going to throw 3 touchdowns and average 350 yards every week in the NFL. What you can do is you can win successfully with a good team around him. They have pieces in the backfield. They have pieces at receiver if you're Cleveland. And just a quarterback who can make plays, not turn the ball over. And I think Mayfield can do that. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, last year, showed me a lot of toughness for the Cleveland Browns. So I'm not giving up on Mayfield yet. Put the pieces around him. Like I said, he just lead the team, don't make mistakes, and he can be successful. I'm talking about Baker Mayfield and Amari Cooper in Cleveland, buddy. And I'm sure a lot of Cleveland fans.
Yeah.
Well, Mayfield, what do we get with Mayfield? I'm not as down on Mayfield as everybody.
I like Mayfield.
You do?
Yeah, I
I
do.
do too.
I'm one
And
of
you
the
know,
few.
and you don't need to throw 3 touchdowns and 350 yards a game to be successful as a quarterback. We've seen it many times. So I'm not giving up on Cleveland yet. I still think they're a good team. There's still a lot of talent on that team. Um, and we'll see where they go from here. But Mayfield, to me, showed a lot of toughness last year, playing through a multitude of injuries.
And where else? I mean, is Alice Cooper going to get a mulcher if they trade Baker away? So
Oh, an Alice Cooper reference on the unsung sports grid. That I think that may be it first. That may be it first.
his first appearance. He's got a great
Right.
restaurant. I hope it's still open out in Arizona.
He does?
Yeah, it's called Alice Cooper's Town.
No. Oh,
And
I love that.
yeah, it was
Who is he?
the shirt was a guitar, like a baseball bat. He's
I,
swinging a
be-
guitar like a
I believe
baseball.
it. He is one hell of a golfer.
Yep, that's what I heard. Is
Yep.
that's what they told us? Is he's in here every day at 3:30, that corner over there, drinking after his rounds of golf.
Alice Cooper. Goodness gracious. Anyway, you guys want to chat with us? Please do. You know what to do. Give us a comment. Talk about the legal tampering for your team or for any team. Questions, comments, concerns, feedback. You're welcome here on the E2G Sports podcast on StreamYard. We have the Unsung Sports Grid. And it's crazy with football, man. And I know you're looking forward to the 16th because that is, quote unquote, your new year beginning in the NFL. So this is right in your wheelhouse, buddy. What do you have planned as far as what are you writing about? I know you're with all of this stuff going on. Your draft board must be going crazy. Your brain must be going, mile a minute.
Yeah, moving around. A lot of pieces have moved around. My rankings haven't really moved, and I've done some of my write ups. But as far as fits because of free agency, like at 31 overall, I believe I had Zion Johnson, interior offensive lineman, Boston College, going to the Bengals because I thought they needed interior offensive line help. So what do they go out and do today? They signed 2 of them. So now I wonder, are they going to have a corner late? They're going to trade out because they can get some good currency at 31 because a lot of teams look to trade in for that 5th-year contract with a player, especially with the quarterback situation not being so good. Someone may take a flyer on a quarterback at 31 so they can get that extra year. So it completely changes everything. They signed B.J. Hill today. That was a big signing for them. They got guys coming back from injury. They got to improve at corner. That's their weakness, and they need a back who complements Joe Mixon. And I said earlier today, I thought Tariq Cohen would be a nice signing for the Bengals to complement Joe Mixon. I think that'd be a good
I like
fit.
that.
It's a puzzle. It really is. It's putting together a big puzzle in different things, and you can't have 3 250-pound backs. That just makes no sense. You can't do that anymore in this league. Got to have a change of pace, a third down, a special teams guy. It's important.
Gronkowski, we thought was going to Buffalo, which I thought would have been a great fit, an asset to the team. You got to think he's going back to Tampa. And here's my question with Tampa. I know Brady's back. We know there was strife there now, and I think it revolved around the coach. That's what we're thinking, and that's my opinion on it. How do they put that behind him with 2 egos, with TB12 and Bruce Arians, number 1, and is Gronkowski a shoo-in to go back to Tampa as everyone seems to be re-upping? I don't know if Fournette's there yet, but the rumors are swirling that they all want to come back. I'm not so sure that's a good idea. Your thoughts on that? But the strife between the coach and quarterback, that's going to be interesting. And how does that play out?
I'm curious how much longer he's there. I know it's mid-March. That would be quite interesting. That would be a statement of statements without saying anything. If you heard he was gone and they're interviewing in March.
Right.
That would tell you everything you need to know. But
you're right. You're right.
They're just going to try to patch it up and go together. Maybe Giselle was driving him more crazy than Arians was. He just couldn't decide.
Jesus. I know. And if that's the case, is Byron Leftwich take over?
Yeah, move him up.
At least interimly, right?
Yeah, and just go along and let Like and his crew do the draft, and that's more than fine. Yeah, that's an interesting scenario there.
I just don't know if they won the Super Bowl. You bring all the guys back, including the coaches, first time
All
ever,
22.
right? All of them back. You want to do it so you had the season. We know that locker room was fractured in a multitude of ways, and we don't even know the half of it yet, but we do know
Nope.
that. How do you bring all these guys back again and have it get a harmonious to that year? I just think that is a tough thing to do. And I guess what I'm trying to say is like what Buffalo did back in the Super Bowl years, you change a couple of the moving parts a little bit to get that fresh blood in there, invigorating and hungry. Because these guys, and it's easy to be complacent when you win a Super Bowl, but when you have a year like last year, and don't get me started with this, everyone talks about how they were a field goal away from beating the Rams. I'm going to go a step further and back up to. I'm going to say that the Rams did everything they could in that game to gift wrap a victory. So that game could have easily been a 45-10 shellacking. The narrative changes if it goes that way. So that Tampa Bay team was not as close to getting to the championship game as the final score indicated. You give TB12 30 or 40 yards in 4 consecutive possessions, he's going to score.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to be tough for all those guys to get back on that same page a year removed with all the dissension last year. That's an interesting drama, an interesting sitcom that could be awaiting in Tampa, in my opinion.
Yeah. Guy I haven't heard anything about. I thought I saw he was a free agent, and maybe I'm completely wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. OJ Howard.
I think he is a free agent.
Tight end from there. I think he's a free agent. I have heard nothing about him. You know where he'd be a nice fit?
Where?
Cincinnati.
Oh, you're right.
It wouldn't be expensive. And he's a good all-around tight end.
And that would be just what the doctor ordered for the QB.
Yep, just another release or another guy who's good at chipping and holding the defender.
That's it. Yep.
And we're going to.
Could we see a lot more from Joe Burrow? We talked about him being sacked, 90 some odd times in 2 years. That's a lot of beating on the body, but part of it was his fault as well because he didn't know when to get rid of the ball, held on to it a little bit too long, which I'll give him a pass for because he's only in his second year. Granted, he went to a Super Bowl, but you give him those tight end sets and he can get rid of the ball in 2 or 3 step drops to protect him physically, which is what he needs because he's had 2 knee injuries in 2 years in the league, and that cannot happen if you're Cincinnati. So I think
that was partially answered today with 2 signings.
Yep. Go ahead.
And I don't think they're done. I think they're going to go right along that offensive line. I think they're going to go all veterans, and they're going to build that secondary.
Yep.
With young players.
And
good plan.
Yep. And a Cincinnati team that organizationally wise, we've seen, on the Brown family, just couldn't get out of their own way, didn't want to spend money, didn't want to have a coaching staff, didn't coordinate, I don't even know if they had a scout team for a while,
they
right?
Had no scouting. They used Bless, though. No, right. They had no scouting.
Exactly. So maybe the worm is turned for this team. You would think after what they did last year, that if you're the owner and the upper organization, if that isn't enough for you to go out and do something and to make this, just to change everything around, much like Bidwell did with the Cardinals, although you can argue that, then if you can't do it now, Brown family, then you've got a serious problem on your hands because that's what it's about. I mean, you're close now in a conference where you are on the come, and now you've got that tag with you as, you're the hey, the Bengals are coming to town. They're a target now more than they were someone who was, I guess, for lack of a better term, and they're hunted now a little bit more than they were the hunter, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and we're gonna have some great matchups next year in the AFC. You got to figure, because they're all playing first place schedules, we're gonna see Cincinnati, Kansas City, Buffalo all against each other in multiple games.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got that whole AFC West, which is just an incredible group to throw out there. Now you have a team that dipped, that was kind of like on the rise. What are they with the Cleveland Browns? Interesting team to watch.
Yep.
And just outside that division, it's Tennessee in the South. Everybody else is boring as hell. That's the only thing that appears to be a given so far.
Is Tennessee in the market for? Did they get to start looking at quarterbacks other than Tannehill? Because he can get the job done with the team around him. But I'm just looking at Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry is the focal point of that offense. And he's been around a few years, dinged up last year with the foot injury. He's a stud. I'm not saying he's on the decline, but you got to start thinking about the quarterback being more an integral part of the system as opposed to a running back who was 90% of the offense at one point, buddy, last year. I mean, when he was healthy. I mean, it's so. I guess you're the Tennessee Titans, who are well coached and have some real good talent on both sides of the ball. You got to start looking up that under center position a little bit more, at least in the next few years after Ryan Tannehill. Agree?
Yeah, I mean, you were the 1 seed this year in a year where only one team got a bye, and you were knocked out in your first home game, and Tannehill was a big part of that. So it's something you're going to look at. You at least bring in that second guy. I don't know who that second guy is. You draft a quarterback for the future. I don't know the correct name of the person who needs to be brought in. I kind of do. How about a Marcus Mariota type?
Wow. Yeah. I like him. Serviceable.
I'm a Mariota fan, so I'm different. Ryan Randall, good to hear from you, my friend. If you want to read that one right there.
Yep. Ryan Randall says, shoot us Packer fans after that Rodgers signing. Cap hit to the max. I'm guessing Ryan's a Packer fan.
Yes, he is. He's a diehard Packers fan.
Ryan, are you happy now and that Rodgers is there? I know he's a diva. We saw one here in New England for about 20 years, more the last 5 or 6. Rodgers a diva, but if you're looking at the division and the NFC now with Wilson out of there, you know what I mean? It's you can say they haven't gotten to a Super Bowl, but when you win 13 games for 3 consecutive years, you got to figure that something's going to happen, right? That at some point you got to get over the hump. Obviously, Adams is a big factor. Adams wants a payday though, and he may deserve one. So, but Ryan Randall also chimes in, coach here and a big Packers fan. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Ryan? Are you happy that he's back there? Because, I mean, a lot of teams would gladly say, okay, I'll take my chance. Let's win 13 games and we'll see if we can get there, go to 2 championship games in a row. Fell short last year as the number 1 seed. We get that. But he chimes in again. And I like Ryan. I thought the Tennessee offer was too big not to take. That's interesting. But if you're Green Bay, Kirk Cousins is back in Minnesota. That doesn't scare you.
No.
Chicago.
Only 1 more year of Goff.
Yep.
And then it's Ritter or Howell or one of those other quarterbacks who second tier in the draft, second round guys.
Right. Ryan says, I thought the Tennessee offer was too big to take. Would have saved $30 million on cap. But you got your franchise quarterback. That's going to be interesting. But you made a good point, too. Staying in the NFC North. I think that Dan Campbell is just the type of coach that will be not only successful in Detroit because his players like him. I think the city of Detroit, the blue-collar workers of Detroit, will embrace a guy like Campbell. Say what you want about his rah-rah, and he was a tight ends coach in Miami, had that couple of things. But I like Dan Campbell, and I think that Detroit Lion team has got some players. Another important draft for them, buddy. What are your thoughts on Detroit, and can they get back to respectability? Because you got to have a soft spot for the Detroit Lions, much like you would the Cleveland Browns.
Well, let's see how these first 34 picks of the draft go this year, because they got 3 of them, and they get a chance to really make a difference. At 2 with an impact player, and 32 from the Rams, and 34. So let's see what they do with those 3 picks. They do need some receiver help. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping at 34 they grab Desmond Ridder. I think he'd flourish there. Just something tells me he's a Detroit mentality type guy.
Yeah. I
So
like him too. Yeah, I thought the pro set too they played at Cincinnati was real quick to make that jump too as well. Cincinnati had some players. and they played a good scheme, obviously outmatched against Alabama. But that wasn't a bad Cincinnati team. You can argue the confidence in the schedule, but I liked what I saw just from the schematically offensive standpoint that they had, that Riddick could make the transition successfully, maybe a couple years down the road. But he's got all the tools. Ryan Randall checks in again. He says, drive 5 draft picks in Tannehill. He said, but we'll win our division and be in the mix next few years for sure. And that's not a bad thing, Ryan.
As a Patriots fan, I know that feeling for years. Yep. You knew it.
Yep. Again, a lot of teams would envy that. A lot of fans would envy you as a Packer fan to be in that position where at least you have the shot. Because once you make the tournament, as Bill Parcells said, anything can happen. You know, I mean, we saw it this past year. 2 number 1 seeds losing for the first time in since the merger? Or no?
It's been a while.
Yeah, 20 years. Something like that, 2000 or something. But it was crazy. It's been a long time. So anything can happen once you're in the tournament. But keep the faith, man.
Yeah, not seeing anything else going on much tonight. Do we want to talk about Wednesday at all, or are we holding off?
Wednesday, yeah, we can. Well, I'm waiting on guests, but we're slated to be on our first remote on Wednesday. A lot of NCAA tournament talk. We will be at Ladder 133 Kitchen and Social and Douglas Avenue in Providence, which is not far from the campus of PC. But we'll be in there. They're really susceptible. We're going to go in there, kind of go on show, we'll promote the product, and waiting for a couple of guests. I don't want to spoil that yet, but we will be on our first remote to get out there. And if you're in the area, come on down. We're going to be there a little early. We're going to start from 6:30 to 8. We'll get the old school guys, maybe JC, maybe Joe Ferrand, maybe a couple of others, but looking forward to it. So we'll be there in body. We're not sure if we're going to get the guests, so I'm going to keep that a hold now, but we're going to be out and about, and that's what we want to be. And I like going to these places and meeting people and doing different things. It's fun to get out. I'm a restaurateur by trade. I've done it all my life, even with this. And it's an industry that is the biggest corporation in America outside of government. So I want to kind of give back to them and go out there and promote to these hardworking people. And what I realized today, I was pounding some streets, going to the pavement, going to places. These places are still hurting after the pandemic. People just want to work. They need people. They need anything. So I'm going to go out there and give back to a business that's been a part of my life, of the better part.
Anybody, even if you want to come in, and I'll sit at the bar and eat and talk football with you.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I'm not one of those people I'm going to say, oh, I watch college basketball, so I know a lot about college basketball. No. I don't belong on a stage talking college basketball. Sorry.
The world is a stage. Yeah, but we're going to be fun. Get the brackets out, the tournaments here. I love it. It's the Davy Goliath thing. The Thursday of the tournament starting. I mean, we have the playing games. Brian will be 6:40 that night, so we'll be going live during the Bryant game. And we'll take comments and suggestions if you look at. We'll talk about the PC matchup as well. They go on the next morning in the South region in South region, which is located in Buffalo, New York. So they're shuffling off to Buffalo tomorrow, I believe, and they'll be at 12:40. So they're one of the opening games as the tournament starts at noontime Eastern time on Thursday. But got a lot coming up here on the network, so pay attention to the social. We'll be out there and we'll keep you abreast. But it's looking forward to being out there with the peeps.
All right. Yeah, Ryan, definitely doing. Everybody fill out a bracket.
Thanks, sir.
Did you see the grand prize?
I went on it a little bit. You want to shed some light on it?
Yeah, we have a bracket up on our E2G Sports LLC page.
Create.
First prize. There is nowhere else you're going to find this. Still in the box, Teddy Ruxpin.
Really?
Yep.
Is it the best tournament, the best bracket, right? It doesn't have to be like win $1 million for a perfect bracket, which is like virtually impossible.
Nope. Whoever has the best picks in our group wins the Teddy Ruxpin.
Like it. And that's a great thing.
Where else are you going to win a Teddy Ruxpin for the NCAA tournament, you know? I go out of my way for these prizes.
That's a hell of a prize. That is a relic. Teddy Ruxpin. Bingo.
Yeah, you can put any of your cassettes in there, and you could sing Shout at the Devil for all you care. So.
Yeah, exactly. And people love the tournaments and the pools, and you don't have to be a big fan because you can be the diehard basketball fan, but it's an imperfect science, man. Sometimes the less you know about these things, the more you don't think about them. And the more you think about them, the worse you do. So anyone just have fun with it. And that's what the tournament's all
God.
about. It's a great time,
What
man.
is this crap?
What's the matter? Any breaking news here before we sign
I
off?
don't know if there is. I hope it isn't what I think it is.
I get something from Schefter from 13 minutes ago. Washington defensive tackle Tim Settle to Buffalo.
Are you kidding me?
On a 2-year deal per source. He will be reunited with Tremaine Edmonds from their Virginia Tech days. And the division just keeps getting – I know you love that Washington team, especially on the defense.
Defensive line. I love Settle and Iodosis. The backups. Oh.
Dude, you know what?
What a kick to the ball. Damn it.
Hey, if you're a Patriot fan, man, that's just your division continuing to get stronger. And that Buffalo team is no let up, man. They just are going after it. And that's
Tim Settle.
Yeah.
It's a good little pickup.
Yep. Johnny Cunningham says, great show today, guys. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Johnny.
Johnny, thank you, Ryan. Thanks to all the Johns for chiming in today, buddy. You want to take us out, but it's been a real good day, and we got a lot more to go during the week.
Yeah, we'll put up promotion in a little bit, but Wednesday night, I'd love to see you. Love to hang out with you. Love to talk to you. These guys doing the college basketball, I'll be around just smoozing and making people happy. Ladder 133 in Providence, 133 Douglas Avenue, a former fire station converted into bar, restaurant type thing. So, this is a place I'm going to get geeked out about. So, come on down. First one's on me.
There you go. There's incentive right there. Awesome. All right, take us home, baby.
All righty, for E2G Sports, we'll be with you tomorrow, 10 a.m., first formation. 9 a.m., I believe. Now I feel like a jerk because I should have been more prepared. One Patriot Place is on tomorrow also. They got Evan Lazar in with them.
Nice.
And we'll go from later on in the day. We'll probably check in at some point if some stuff starts going down. I think I even just saw a hockey trade, but it was like teams that really wouldn't affect the Bruins. So.
Yeah. And don't forget, if I may kind of cross the streams, a lot going down in the world of baseball too. So we'll keep up to the date. Murph is writing some good stuff on the E2Gsports.com. Check his work out. He's very opinionated. I like his style. Good stuff with the Red Sox nationally too, but lots of going on in the baseball world too. So we got two frenzied leagues going off on each other with the start of opening day just a few weeks away. So we'll keep up to date on the social with the baseball and on our shows as well.
And we will. The hockey deadline is March 21st in the afternoon. We'll be following that too. So
you bet.
We just won't be covering all New York Rangers. It'll be weird. We'll cover all the teams.
Bingo!
All righty. So have yourself a good day. And God bless and enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you.
Take care, best.